So we've got the Powerglide on the bench, and we're going to walk through how we're going to cut this bell housing off and install this BTE bell housing. Now you may be asking, why are we cutting the bell housing off? Well, we hope to run speeds that require an SFI bell housing, and we're doing it at the beginning of the build, so the transmission, for one thing, it's going to be easier to handle, and our new bell housing will be on the transmission for mock-up. So let's get started and we'll walk through this together. Now, our new bell housing is going to mount to the pump face. So everything outside the pump face is going to be cut away except for this area right here. We still need to preserve our old case where the pan fits so that we retain the bolts that bolt the pan on and this sealing surface. So chances are this cut is going to end up running parallel with the pan, but we'll save that to last. Now, I sprayed the interior of the bell housing with black paint just so the line is easier to see when we cut this thing. And because our new bell housing is going to mount to this pump surface, what we'll do is use a utility knife, or you can use anything flat, and what we're doing is marking where the edge of that cut is going to be for our new bell housing. And we can mark this thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to stay off the line when we cut. This gives you an idea of what we're going to be doing. And I'll mark that all the way around. Again, we'll leave this area here until the end so we can figure out what we have to do with our sealing surface for that pan. Now our new BTE bell housing is cut out. It's relieved in that area, so we know we have to retain our stock case here. We want to keep our pump in place so that we know where we're cutting to, but we're going to take these top few bolts out. We'll probably leave these bottom 3 in, so since we're not cutting down here to start with anyway, but we'll take these top 4 out just to give us more room to cut. Now we've got those out of the way, we'll do the rough cutting with a reciprocating saw, and then we'll have to clean it up with a 4-inch grinder. For this initial cut, we're starting blind, so I'm going to start well outside of where our line is, and then we'll make adjustments and get closer to the line. Takes a long time to break through the ribs up top before we can get in and put our blade 90 degrees. Also, we're creating a lot of debris, a lot of dust, but we're doing a full rebuild on this transmission, so it doesn't matter. It's one thing you may need to keep in mind if you're not rebuilding yours, just cutting the bell housing off and replacing it with an SFI. We moved to a saber saw while the other saw is battery charged. Alright, we're finally free. After using every saw in the house. Now this gives you an idea of where we roughed it to. You can see we're a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch in places from our line. And what we'll end up having to do here at the bottom is we'll cut along the pan's running here. We'll essentially join this line with this line here, like that. Come up and then grab, we'll come up here and then join the pump face. So we still have a lot of cleanup to do. We'll take, as soon as my batteries charge up, we'll take the sawzall, bring it around, staying even with the pump face. And then when we're done with that, we actually need to move this edge back a little bit past the pump face, because you can't have your, if the bell housing is in a bind, we need it to sit flat on this face so that we don't pull threads out of the pump or out of the casing through the pump, or if we have a high spot on this case, our bell housing could be sitting at an angle, which is going to cause driveline issues. You're probably going to crack a bell housing or a case. So when we bring this edge back, we'll have to go slightly behind the pump face so that the bell housing rests flat against that face. Okay, this is where we stand right now. And next, we're down to probably within about an 1/8 inch of our pump face here all the way around, except these ears at the bottom. So our next operation is probably going to be turn this thing on the side, and I'm going to cut these ears off, even with the front of the transmission pan and my sealing surface. And then we'll probably extend that line up to our pump face. And we may have to make a little adjustment here depending on how our bell housing fits. And the bell housing is cut out a little bit here, you can see, to fit over your threads in your case that hold the pan on. So our next operation is cut these ears off, and then we're going to take a 4-inch grinder, probably with a flapper wheel to start, and take this edge down to match the dimension of our pump face.